Hey, today's April 15th. I just put on my Facebook that I just revoked President Zelensky's um, title and honor of Captain Humanity, and he has no more status with the Accountability Task Force now. And, well, I mean, a short answer could be his affiliation with a terrorist state, the USA, is well, there's a lot of complexities that the 99% of people don't have access to the information. It sounds arrogant and it sounds like I have my truth and you don't have yours, which is the term I'm often hearing with some groups I'm discussing with right now. But this is all the things that are at play that most people don't know about because they're only given part of the puzzle to understand is he had a chance to actually shed light on this game that are played by elites all over the world, and every nation is at war with their own elites because the corruption in the people primates brain is definitely not something that the elites are immune of, and in fact they more likely suffer from it. And what's sad is the people that they are the elites to are very much unaware of most of the activities and the impacts it has on the normal people, let's say, although the elites are also the common man, woman of the day, the homo communia that suffer from HSD, is they, aside from not being aware of what the elites work on in their little backdoor schemes, is they also aspire to become them. So that's a pretty big sign that the people primates are pretty doomed as a species as well. So I'm going to just read something in just a moment. So I'm going to try and meet somebody soon concerning this, and this is me wanting to take a domestication center that harms your children, where I've been house sitting, to court. And again, the elites will block this, as they usually do, because status quo is less stressful for them, and most certainly you jump for the status quo as a way to reduce your stress at the cost of your children's generation. So here's what I wrote in my letter of intent, and I also will be trying to talk to somebody, say, hey, I can prove I'm poor. Can you waive this fee that legally, whether I am a resident of this area or not, should be waived based on the rules that I've asked a copy of that you guys claim, but you won't deliver a copy of it, or a form that can be waived so I don't have to pay these fees. So because I can't pay these fees, it's a way that justice cannot be served in an example of Canadian society. Now, Canada is not a country that I have yet to put on the list of terrorist states, like Russia and China, for example. But it's aligning itself that eventually, mimetically speaking, it will make that list during my lifetime. March 1st, 2022. Apologies to you, as I have not been out of my home that much since I intended to deliver this mail to you. I still operate on a very low budget, and therefore I must be wise with expenses such as fuel. I have even decided to deliver this letter directly to you while also creating a video record of it, so as to save me the postage fees surcharge as well as any additional delays. Please note that for any potential legal matter that I am involved in, that I choose to post any interactions that include me online for the sake of full transparency. This means that I will be posting this video of my delivery of this letter and its content to you online for public access, and as soon as I get back to where the internet is accessible to me. Please note that on Friday, February 25th, 2022, a letter was received in my name which contained a check for $426.32. This is the only attempt at payment since 2021-22 school year began that I have received. I acknowledge that you can keep using this mailing address, although not my own, for the sake of communication that legally requires to be snail-mailed. Please be aware as well that I see this check as a dangling carrot that further adds to your list of growing effronteries and human rights violations of my person. I may also choose to, after further investigations into correspondence between your staff at Draveurs, to suggest to the judge that your overall conduct in my regard consists as being valid, as being hate crimes. It goes without saying, even though I live below the poverty line, that I will not be cashing this check of yours, as this would make me a participant in my own victimizations. In fact, I would only cash your check in case of extreme duress, such as famine, an urgent need for medicines, or a dire need for acquiring shelter, for which I would be able to provide documentation of such status for a judge to consult at that time. If you choose to place a block on this check, now knowing this, that I seek to attempt not to cash in, then I am certain that the judge would also be able to see it as the malice that it represents. Please note that I have not accessed and will likely not access any documentation online regarding my financial records with your organizations, examples, pay stubs, etc. Following this, I request that you send any documents that you deem that I should be aware of to this same mailing address. Please note that I am also aware that this amount, $426.32, even by your own rules suggesting money laundering is involved, as well as collective agreements that do not apply to me. So I'm saying that that amount actually even breaks their own rules, and their own collective agreement for categories they wanted me to sign a contract for that don't even apply to me. May also be incomplete due to your failed administrative systems concerning payments to staff, and which I have not agreed to due to their abuses, is lacking in its final totals. This being said, what I suggest below may be seen as already including the costs of interest incurred by des Draveurs for the delivery of my services as a culture repair learning specialist, where the amounts already seem to exclude work hours already provided. I did get a smaller other check, but still didn't get any documentation to explain the amounts, which days it was, what deduction they may or may not have done. And I do believe that even based on their own rules, they still owe me money, based on the time I put in. And of course, I've never heard of any of their union representatives, if they do exist, right, to actually discuss these things. Here are the three outcomes that I offer for you and for your lawyer to review and to be choosing from at this time, along with the dates for which these offers will expire. Page 2. Point A. Before March 31st, so they passed that deadline, I would accept the amount of $1,700 along with a meeting or a series of meetings negotiating for the sake of some culture repairing projects to be implemented province-wide. These negotiations must involve a representative from both the Ministère de l'Éducation et le Ministère de l'Enseignement supérieur du Québec, as well as representatives of teachers' unions, French and or English, as all children matter, that would be representing a minimum of 71,000 members of the staff in Quebec. 71 is a strategic number based on my research, and it was chosen for maximum impact of cultural repair in this province in the realms of education. This is the low financial cost for you, but the high cultural repair option. Now, choice B. Before June 30th, 2022, I would accept the amount of $14,500 along with a genuine letter of apology from both the Centre de Service Scolaire des Draveurs as well as the union that was supposedly meant to represent me, should it truly exist as what it claims to be. I say this to you now, as no representatives have ever made attempts to contact me to this date and still today. In another province, when I was a union steward for educators myself, it was our duty as stewards to go and introduce ourselves to new educators early on, and to also bring them printed materials so that they may familiarize themselves with our services. The employer provided to us, the union stewards, the information needed so as to make first contact with these new educators. This letter of apology, part of option B, should be signed from both the employer and the union. Must include words such as, the behaviors that you have suffered and that you explained to us were also suffered by the children, should never have happened, and we thank you wholeheartedly for your services as both a culture repair and a learning specialist. This is the medium financial cost and medium effort culture repair option. It is also the option that I would recommend to you at this time. And that was on March 1st that I recommended that. C, this final option will be the result of your further neglect in taking these matters regarding both your staff as well as the learners that you are entrusted to serve with the seriousness that they deserve. I would file papers in small claims court for a total of $35,000, where I would also include 3 conditions. 1, that some of the income from this amount be used in culture repairing projects of my choosing. 2, that the judge does not place any orders which would block the transparency of this case. Example, that no journalists, media coverage be allowed, or of any limits for my questioning, interrogating your staff, myself during the court proceedings, etc. And 3, that I also be allowed to sue various individuals afterwards, specific individuals. So the judge can't limit this after. And also there should be, after I present this case, there should be, based on the evidence accepted and the case being won and the records kept by the court, there should then be follow-ups of criminal investigation by the police. If you guys were Homo sapiens living by human standards, this would be the case as well. And 3, that I also be allowed to sue various individuals afterwards, those who would have partaken in the worst occurrences of slander and or defamation of my person, as may be discovered, documented along the way. Please be aware, before attempting further assault to my person, that I am a resourceful individual, and you cannot believe that if you want. It gives me an advantage, who can easily get access to information regarding myself, which would be inherent in your own culture, through the assistance and goodwill of those that are also witnessing its toxicity as a culture. By the way, when I take CISSSO to court, I know that a lot of people will, when it becomes more public knowledge, contact me directly that work for CISSSO, perhaps saying they're ready to speak out in my case as well against CISSO's incompetencies, as they've seen people they didn't know or themselves were, or their family members living in the area were totally let down by the gigantic sense of lack of responsibility and accountability from CISSSO. So when things build, people get the courage to even maybe anonymously provide information that is very useful for cases against school boards or against health authorities. And by the way, I'm capable of anxiety, but I'm capable of handling the anxieties that would come with taking them to court. And in fact, I might actually find that my life is more enjoyable by the time these things arrive, as being harmful to themselves and to others. So, the people that would be witnessing this toxicity, but who may not be as courageous in showing their faces as many Ukrainians, current affairs, currently are. Okay, and many Ukrainians are showing courage, but also Russians who are denouncing things are showing courage. Now, of course, very few of the elites that have kind of instigated all these things, including with NATO countries, are showing that kind of courage. So, you know, the courage comes from just the average person making certain decisions. And I know that there will be some when this becomes public and gets on the court's schedule. And I advertise that it is on the court schedule. This is the high financial cost, still not that high for what they deserve, but sadly also the least likely to succeed culture repair option, as it would be very unlikely to be assigned a judge that is also a culture repairer. And by the way, judges must be culture repairers if you want me to believe that your justice system is real. And one who also knows what the French word is and how to properly manifest its definition for the civilization founding key word of accountability. Because most people don't know what it is in Quebec. As applied to various manifestations of culture, such as education, and of the very justice system itself. By the way, I wrote this. It's a nice letter. This would also be the most shameful and distinctively French-Canadian option to select through your chosen inaction for the sake of safeguarding a variety of your vulnerable sectors. That was the end of C, by the way, and I got 2 little paragraphs left. I wanted to say that Quebec considers itself distinct, and most of the ways, I would say easily 9 out of 10, if there was 10, are things not to be proud of, that they are distinct. An example I notice is just driving between the lines. Just a basic thing, driving between the lines. I believe if a research was done, would be worse here than other provinces. Now, if you're proud of this, yeah, I'd be okay if you separate it from Canada. Maybe others would be as well. Finally, I remind you in this letter that I am using the English language for these legal matters, as French, again, like with CISSSO, did not prove to be a language that could productively be used within your administrative cultures here in Quebec. Again, I already posted a conversation with the school board where they told me their lawyers are looking into this, and yet they've passed that first deadline, and it looks like they're not really taking this seriously. Now, I'll have to follow up because I'm a person of my word, but also because I don't want to keep being a victim of Canadian society. And also, and that's self-respect, right? It's I have to also role model how to not violate my own human rights. So I have to follow up. But there's also this sentience that makes me be the culture repair in here as well. So living my unique life as an Homo sapien among the Homo communia, it is my responsibility to role model human standards. So I have to follow up with this. Ending with the appropriate prejudice, because it's an oxymoron to say without prejudice, you know, for something that actually has prejudice. Otherwise, you wouldn't be, you know, getting involved with the justice system, or saying that you will, you know. So it's just a fake. It's just a fakeness. And so I always say, yeah, if I'm writing you this letter, we are now at the prejudice part. So ending with the appropriate prejudice that results from your ongoing delays in the institution of civilized behavior, as opposed to impunity, which the justice system in most countries of the world, including Canada, help grow and accelerate and spread. Impunity is a very part of the memetics that are involved in the justice system, as witnessed by a legal person possessing both sentience and sapience. Martin Parizeau, the professor of socio-cybernetics. Is there something else? Oh yeah, it was just page 2 of 2. So I am ending this video, and it is being posted right now.